In March 1992, one of the greatest games of all time of college basketball was played in Philadelphia. The game was Duke, who was number one, versus number two Kentucky in the semifinals of the national championship. One of the greatest games of all time. Duke was down 102 to 103 with 2.1 seconds left. You had sophomore Grant Hill getting ready to throw the ball in. He launches it 3/4 of the way down the court. Christian Laettner catches it, turnaround jumper, makes it at the buzzer. Duke wins, goes on to win their second national championship. Back-to-back national championships. Again, one of the greatest games of all time. And now, according to BleacherReport.com, this was the best shot ever by Duke. They ranked the top 5, and this was the best ever, which is saying something. Now, many people might think that Kentucky or Kansas, North Carolina, some of these teams might be the greatest basketball teams of all time. They're wrong. More specifically, college basketball. Today I'm going to give you 3 reasons and explain why Duke University has the best college basketball of all time. Those 3 reasons are: first, their coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K. Second, their consistency. Consistency is second to none. And then third, their fans, right along with their indoor stadium, is legendary. So first, Coach K. It really comes down to this. For the last 40 years, Coach K has been coaching at Duke. I've been coaching for about 43 years. He's the all-time leading winningest coach, right? And when it comes to sports, for the most part, it comes down to winning. Coach K does that. He had last year, 2019, he won a game against North Carolina State pretty handily, and that put him up to 1,123 wins according to NCAA.com. And then a little bit later in the season, he won a game, and that put him above Pat Summitt, who was the all-time winningest coach out of men and women. So he now is the all-time leading NCAA all divisions winningest coach, which that in itself tells you so much. He really turned Duke around. They've always been a great program, which goes to my point. But back in the early 80s, they were struggling. They were a little bit of a losing team. And he a little bit of a background. He played at West Point. He had that military background in a sense and brought that to Duke. And so within 3 years, he turned them from a losing team into a winning team. And they've been impressive ever since. They literally haven't had a losing season since 1982 to 1983, which goes right into my next point. According to GoDuke.com, under Coach K, Duke has 5 national championships. So as far as consistency goes, 5 national championships is a lot, and the majority of those are in the last 20 years. Since 1991 and on, they have 5 national championships: 1991, 92, 2001, 2010, and 2015 being the last one. Duke also, again, going back to my point that kind of led into this, they have not had a losing season since 1982 to 1983, almost 40 years, less than 40 years. They don't know what it feels like to have a losing season. That's mind-blowing. But that consistency plays into a lot of their players, right? They've had 28 NBA lottery picks, which is the top 10 draft picks are considered lottery picks. And so they have had 28, unreal, right? 34 All-American selections, 64 NBA drafts in total, and 41 of those in the first round, which just means that teams want players that have played at Duke. Now, currently, according to dunkfor3.com, Duke has 29 players that are active in the NBA, and that is tied for first with Kentucky, one of those teams I was talking about. They're good. They're all right, I guess. But one final stat, because I know people like stats. They like to see fact. They like to see logic. Duke has 97 wins in the NCAA tournament in the last 40 years. That's crazy to me. My final point that really, in my opinion, brings it home. You have the coach, you have the winning team, the players that go on and produce, the fans. It's a huge part of sports, right? According to one of my buddies, Lucas Krim, who actually attended Duke University, you have to take a course just to be able to be in the student section. Many of these students will camp out previous to home games and spend the night, right, to get into the game the next day. Some of these games are at 7 o'clock at night, and they're camping out all night. Pretty crazy, pretty unreal. They were voted, WashingtonPost.com voted them the number 4 venue of all-time, all sports to play in. That's NBA, that's NFL, that's MLB, that's college sports. Number 4. Ridiculous, right? I love Duke. I think I know that they are the greatest program when it comes to winning, and I really have a love for them. So much so that I got this puppy for my wife during Christmas, and we named it Duke because that's how much love we have for the Duke Blue Devils and what they do on and off the court. I'm going to kind of lead out with one of my favorite quotes from Coach K. He said, "That's what I do now. I lead and I teach." I think it's important to be a leader in this world. I think it's important to learn so that you can teach. You can help people to be better and to, sports isn't forever, but to be better in the world, to constantly be making an effort. And just to kind of reiterate why I think and why I know that Duke is the best college basketball team of all time, Coach K, all-time winningest coach ever. Need I say more? But I will. The consistency, winning season, 40 years almost. I'm going to go a little further. The number 4 venue of all time, behind the Cowboys, some of these great elite venues, number 1. And that's why this team is number 1, and why most of you after this will believe it's number 1.